But I know that I lied because I'll be at your back.
Greetings. Today I'd like to talk about an old friend of mine. It's called the Manriki Kusari. The Manriki Kusari is a weighted chain. The Manriki Kusari is a weapon that has been around for a very long time, and I've seen tons of magazine articles, book articles, and I've seen different grandmasters do different techniques. But since 1985 until now, very few of the grandmasters in Japan have physically taught any type of what I would consider to be a organized system on this particular weapon. In the early 1990s, I came across a guy who trained in a system called Totaru Manriki Kusari. And it was very karate-ish, Okinawan-ish, even though it was a Japanese system, but it was very, just very linear, knees tall, just a very unique style. But I was able to learn up to the Shoden Menkyo level. It was a pretty extensive Kyu system into this, so I was able to learn a lot of it. Over the years, I've obviously seen everyone from Stephen Hayes to Hatsumi Sensei to Tanemura Sensei, and then even I'd like to mention Manaka Sensei because he does have a system of Manriki Kusari. It's not a big system, but he does have a system. I believe it's like 10 techniques. He has 5 omote techniques and 5 ura techniques, and 10 techniques, or maybe a kihon. And I'm sure in his lifetime or time to come, he may expand on that. But I know that he's introduced at least these fundamental 10 techniques into the Jinnakan organization. So over the 30 plus years of training, Manaka Sensei was the only one in the Ninpo world to teach a little bit about this and to organize it into some kamaes and all that. Again, over the years, I continued to train with the Totaru people and was able to get even deeper into the Shoden Menkyo. That's when they stopped teaching me and said if I wanted to learn any more, I would need to quit all of my other teachers and pledge 100% loyalty to their system, and then they would continue to teach me. And I actually found out that there was less than 20 techniques that I haven't seen, and the majority of those 20 techniques were just variations of those original techniques against the sword and against maybe multiple attackers. So there was some kuden. So yeah, I did miss some things. What I tried to do was take all the information that I got from Manaka Sensei, all of the information that I got from Toda Sensei going into the Chuden Menkyo level, and all the information that I've ever seen from all the other teachers I had. Teachers would take off their black belts and they would do techniques with black belts, or they would train in what they call a Kusari Fundo, which is basically a rope, and they would do different things. They'd spin, they'd hit, and they'd wrap your wrist up, basically playing around with some just shit, just doing some stuff with the weapon. But it wasn't like a fundamental system, which wasn't good enough for me. It wasn't something that I could reproduce to teach to my students. So I sat down one year and collected all the information that I had, did a lot of research on the weapon from other systems that I haven't studied, but was able to purchase books and to study their philosophy and study their stances and their principles behind it. And I was able to put together, 50 or 60 pages worth of material. And then I squeezed that down and got rid of all the common denominators from different things and came up with kind of a core system. So what the United States Ninpo Academy teaches as far as the Manriki Kusari, I'm just going to call it as an Igaru ninjutsu system of Manriki Kusari. It's not connected to any school. I didn't make this stuff up. All I did was organize it from different systems, different people, and I put it together in a common sense format to where you learn the kamaes, you learn the basic strikes, and then you move forward from there. But I've got a pretty extensive system. It's something we could train on for years and to keep developing it. But just wanted to be upfront and honest about that. So this is a great weapon. It's part of our heritage. It's part of the traditions of what we do. I think it's a very effective weapon. When I was kind of in my earlier days, I remember where I went to Washington, D.C. on a field trip, and we were trying to get into like the museums and stuff like that. And I had one wrapped around on my belt. I was like a crazy ninja guy. I always had like shurikens in my socks, and I had like blinding powder in my back pocket, and I was just a fool. But I remember it was like metal detectors trying to get into these museums and stuff, and I'm like standing in line with all the kids. I think this was actually like in high school, and I'm realizing that I'm seeing this beep, 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 people taking off, and I'm thinking, shit, you know what I mean? So I'm like throwing knives into the bushes, and I'm taking bow shurikens, and I bury them in the dirt, and I took one of these, and I put it in an empty cup, and I put it outside, and then obviously after the whole tour was done, we went out another door the back way, got on the buses and back to school. I lost all my gear, but I just remembered that. It's a funny story. But this is the Manriki Kusari. Whether there's a length that's important or not, I'm really not sure. The Totoro people didn't really talk too much about a length. Manaka Sensei basically said that you need to be able to put both of the weights in your hands to be able to get into like an Ichimonji no Kamae where there's not like a lot of slack, to where it's kind of taut. You want to be kind of tight. So you can make these. Another way I was told in the Totoro was you pinch the very first link, you stand in Kamae, and then make sure that the chain hovers just above the ground with your arm hanging naturally. Again, the weight in your hand, pinching the very first link, having it hang naturally, and then just above the ground. So obviously, as you can see, I've had this one custom made for my body. So it's basically a chain with 2 lead weights on the end. These lead weights here, I don't know if you can see them, I'll try to get close. These are the ones that are actually from Totoro. So this is the Totoro side. It kind of has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's got 6 sides to it, and then it's round, and it's got a long weight on it, and then it's got the chain links on it, you know what I mean? And then these are pretty strong metal here, right? And the chains are nice and smooth, so they don't cut your hands when you go across them there. So that's kind of what the Manriki Kusari looks like. On the Reiho or the etiquette side of it, again, you can do it traditionally where you can have it in your hands. You can come here and you can bow. If you're wearing it on your belt, you can simply just bow here. And then that gets us into the very first Kamae of the system. So again, just consider this to be Iga Kusari. You know, it's not the United States Ninpo Academy. I didn't create this. I freaking stole it from everybody and I organized it. So this is what they call Inyo no Kamae. Inyo no Kamae. Right? So basically, I have the chain in my hand. I have half of it in my left hand, half of it in my right hand. My 2 fingers of my left hand are over top my right hand, and it's almost in like a Kung Fu style bow, right? That's one way you can do it. A more advanced way is to hold it with the chain a little bit taut, so I'm pushing this way, so there's no slack, so I've got it nice and tight. You wait for that wiggle to come out of it, and then you're going to drop your hand about 1 inch, and then close your hand. And what you'll do is you'll have 50% in both hands, and you actually end up right in Kamae, right? So again, nice and taut, drop your hands just a little bit of 1 inch, so you're catching gravity, and then go ahead and bring it down right into Kamae. So this is Inyo no Kamae. It is a bowing posture. From this position here, you can throw things, you can block, but this is called Inyo no Kamae, right? So this is Kamae number 1, Inyo no Kamae. The next Kamae is called Waki Koshi no Kamae, Waki Koshi no Kamae. Think of this kind of like Seigan. So you're going to be in Kamae with your basically your pinky finger and your ring finger holding the weights. Your middle finger kind of tucked in lightly, but touching the weight. Your thumb and your index finger are just over top the chains, kind of making it loose, but they're really not doing nothing. So you're pretty much holding everything with those back 2 fingers, lightly with the middle finger, these 2 fingers around the chain, lightly so that can move. You don't want to be pinching that off, right? And then I'm going to be grounded at the hip. And then this, if it would continue, it would go into their eyes. So depending upon how tall they were, this is going to vary. So this end, which has the tip extruding a little bit from your palm, so when you hit somebody with your hand, you're not touching them with your flesh, you're actually driving the weight to their body, right? But this is here called Waki Koshi no Kamae. The next Kamae is called Kobushi Gakure no Kamae. Kobushi Gakure. Kobushi. Basically, old warrior. Kobushi Gakure no Kamae. You're going to take your left hand, put it on your right shoulder blade. Get into Kamae and bring the weapon back behind your back, trying to hide it some behind your head. So you don't want it where the opponent can see the chain. Have it behind you some, but not too much of an angle because you're going to need to bring this forward. Right? Kobushi Gakure. Kobushi Gakure. Elbow's not down, it's not too high, it's very natural position. Almost like if I was in Kamae here, that position of this arm is like Ichimonji no Kamae, but it's back here. Kobushi Gakure no Kamae. Next is Chigiri no Kamae. Chigiri no Kamae. So from Kobushi Gakure no Kamae, bring your back hand, your right hand, down, in tight to your body. So from out, down. And again, I'm trying to take the chain and hide that in tight to my body. So my left hand and my right hand are touching my body, and the chain is along my body. And I'm again trying to do my best to hide it. When you wear the chain, there's a couple different places that you wear it. So if I was to bring the chain out, I'm going to be able to try to bring it into a position to where he doesn't see what I have. He may know I have something, but you're going to try to disguise the Kamae you're in. That's why I'm trying to hide the chain, right? Chiburi no Kamae. Kamae number 5 is Fuji Kusari no Kamae. Fuji Kusari no Kamae. And if you can kind of see the transition from Kobushi Gakure, Chigiri, now I'm going to step back. And what I'm going to do is I'm dropping the top hand backwards and letting it fall down to my legs. And I'm turning sideways some, and I'm hiding the chain behind my right leg. So it's not like Shizen, where I'm standing here and you can see, or I'm standing here and you can see the chain. I'm trying to hide it behind my leg. Fuji Kusari no Kamae. So again, you can see if I had it in my belt and I was able to pull the ones out, have the weights in my hand, as I turn, I'm trying to get into position without exposing that I have this weight. I want this chain to be a surprise. Fuji Kusari no Kamae. Number 6, Ushiro Kessa no Kamae. Ushiro. Ushiro means diagonally backwards. So Ushiro Kessa. Kessa is kind of like a diagonal. Haso Kessa Giri. Kessa is kind of on this angle. So diagonally backwards on an angle is going to be here. So from what they call Fudo no Kamae, which we'll get to, you're going to take your right hand, go out in front of your left. Bring your elbow past, so your elbow is past the chain. Now, use your arm backwards to bring the chain behind your back and then put it on that diagonal. Right? So if you see, so again, I've seen some people just take their right hand and hook this behind their elbow because it's your elbow that brings it back. I'm not trying to take this and loop it around, right? I just basically want to get the chain on the other side of my elbow and use my arm to get it behind my back, right? And if the chain is going behind my left shoulder, your right foot can be backwards, or your left can be backwards. So there's no set one way. And generally, I'm going to take the hand that's going in front, I'm gonna put that foot back because this is out in front. So generally when this arm is out in front, this leg is out in front. So that's kind of the standard, what they would call Kihon or the basic way. But don't be restricted, you can do either side. But again, it's gonna be here, elbow, arm, step, Kamae. Go in the other direction, left, right hooks, back, Kamae. Okay? Ushura Kesa no Kamae. And I'll get into the strikes, but that's pretty obvious. This is technique number 7. It's called Ushuro Kage. Kage means shadow. So think of this as you're walking forward and there's maybe a shadow behind you if the light is in front of you. Ushuro Kage. From here, you're basically going to take the chain like Otanashi and Hanbo Jutsu and bring it behind your back. Again, one of the ways to carry it, I'll get into that later, is to have it around your waist with the weight chucked into your belt. And from here, what I can do is I can move and I'm in Kamae now. So it's basically having the chain behind your back here. Right? Now, you can have your palms, and you should have your palms with the thumbs facing towards each other, same way in the back. So my thumbs are facing towards each other, and I'm here. So basically, my palms are down, and I can be in Kamae, right side or left side here. Right? It's basically hiding. For when I'm here, tucked into my belt, something happens, I move myself out, and then I go into Kamae. I'm in this position here. Allows me to use that strike. Basically behind, go back. That is Ushiro Kage. Number 8. Number 8 is called Fudo no Kamae. Again, having it in these fingers. This time you want a little bit of slack. So you don't want to hold it where it's taut. You want a little bit of slack. Because what you're going to do is this is going to actually pop. And it's going to pop into your target. So you want to be able to use that to be able to cause a little bit of pain on that snap. So you just want it here. Manaka Sensei would call this Amote Ichimonji. Totaru calls it Fudo no Kamae. The word Fudo simply means immovable. It's immovable Kamae. Fudo no Kamae. The last one, number 10, is Tai no Kamae. Tai. Tai means body. So you can basically have it where it's 50-50, right? It's 50-50, and then basically you want to take and bring that up from underneath here. Bring the weights up close to the belt and let the chain hang slightly longer than the belt. This gives you the ability to grab both of the weights, pull down, go to Kamae. Another way, if I'm going to be going long distance and I'm not so much ready to use it, I'll go ahead and loop it through the belt, bring the weights through the chain, cinch it down. No one can steal it, they won't fall off. They kind of bounce around a little bit. I usually from here bring them inside my gi, tuck them back up underneath the belt. So the chain is still there, but I can move around, they're not bouncing around on my body. That's one way I'm carrying them if I was going to go on like a long journey, up through the mountains, running around, jumping over things, and I don't want them hanging down. This would probably not be my first choice, but it's a great way to carry it as like a utility if I needed to move with, especially if I do a situation where I may be in trouble. You can easily bring the weights down, then you've got to learn how to catch the chain and then bring the weights through the loop so you're actually ready to go. So if I was going to be in a situation where I needed to use them, I would position them this way here. And then when I was attacked, I could quickly move to Kamae. Right? So wearing it on your belt, number one. In no particular order. Next way, basically put it behind your neck. Take the chain, bring it under this armpit. Take the chain, bring it under this armpit, and then make sure your gi is here, and the weights are over here. Not hanging down here, the weights are over here. And I can move around naturally, and I can move. And then if I needed to use them, I could quickly access them, bring them over my head, and go to Kamae. So, wear it over your head. I can fight, move, everything, and they're not going to move around on me. And then if I needed to, maybe I was like in a full Nelson in behind, I can have my hands come up, I can use these to strike with, flip back around here, turn out. So that's way. The next way, probably the most common way, is to bring it behind your back, tuck the weights in your belt, and then go back and tuck the whole chain underneath your belt. So the whole chain, everything is hidden. So you don't want to be walking around with a kimono and an obi or a regular civilian street clothes and have someone see a chain underneath your sash, under your obi. If they see the weapon and you're a young guy, you're not from that town, and you've got a weapon or a chain, that's not something that a merchant or a farmer or someone who was just in the community would carry a chain around. That's only something that a warrior would do. And if you're trying to hide a chain under your belt, you're either going to be a thief or you're going to be a ninja. Either way, it's going to bring attention to yourself. So you want to try to, when you're wearing weapons at all times, even if I'm wearing a tanto, I don't wear a tanto on the outside. I'll put the tanto underneath my gi and try to hide it. So anytime I can hide my weapons, you're going to be in better shape. But this way here, I can move and kick, there's no problem. If I get in a situation, I can quickly grab out the weights and I can go into Kamae. All right. So again, you have wearing it on your belt, around your neck, and then around your back is where you would have it, right? Here are the Kamaes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 'The next section, Kusari, or Manriki Kusari, is your kihon, ways of striking with the chain. The first technique is called hiken. One of the things I want to talk about is something called, or noto, which is basically sheathing and resheathing. There's a certain form that I've adapted with the chain that does make us a little bit unique, and basically taking this some from Togakure-ryu, Kenjutsu, and some of the Todoru, and mixing that together to make it a little bit more of a ninja feel to the flow of it. I don't want what we're doing to look like Todoru, and I don't want what we're doing to look like Jujinin-ryu, because it's a conglomeration of these systems. It's a melting pot or a merge of these systems. So in some ways, by melting them together, it's given its own uniqueness, and I want to give it its own flow as well. So what I like to be able to do is, at the end of a lot of these techniques, if the weight is hanging, like I just did something, I just struck somebody, the weight is hanging, rather than technique just kind of ending like this here, I like to have a certain style or a certain flow of the way we handle the chain. So whenever you're done doing anything and the chain is there, you pick it up off the ground, you have it in one hand, I want you to go back to Waki Koshi no Kamae. I want you to go back to like this Seigan no position. And then from there, I want you to learn how to take your right hand and resheath the chain. So again, holding it tightly with just your pinky and your ring finger, keeping your middle, your index, and your thumb as like pinchers or grabbers. Have this be a little taut. So pull in opposite directions to get the chain taut. Then from there, you're going to take your right hand and you're going to throw it down into your left hand like this. What that's going to do is it's going to put all the chain in the one hand. From there, you can come up to Inyo no Kamae. So if I just did something, and ba, 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 and I just hit the guy. From there, I will learn how to swing it back to my hand. I want to resheath it and come back to Inyo. And I want to do that every single time. So it has this flow of something happened. I'm either going to give it a swing to get it back to here, throw it into Kamae, go back to Inyo. So you're going to have to practice this thousands of times. And I'm telling you right now, it really won't work with the rope version of these. You're going to need to get some type of chain. So go down to Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever it is, get yourself a chain, get online, buy yourself a decent Manriki Kusari. Be careful to the ones that are like $8. And if you get the cheap ones, the ring that connects the weight to the chain is just a small little ring and it's not really welded together. And I've seen those snap. And I've seen techniques where you're spinning it above your head and then the weight fell off and hit someone and cause a lot of damage. Or you go to flip it to hit somebody and it flies off and hits them dead in their forehead, cuts them wide open, they got a scar on their forehead for the rest of their life. Yes, I know that person. He no longer trains anymore, but he's walking around with a scar on his whole life. And people are like, hey, what's that big scar on your forehead? And he's got to go, well, about 10 years ago, I dropped out of this ninja school and I got hit with this chain. I was only trained there for a week and I got 12 stitches on my forehead. So if you're going to get a stitch down your forehead, you better become a real good ninja so you got a good story to go with. But either way, when it's done, you can do one of two things. You can come up and you can grab it and then you can kind of bring it along and get into Kamae and then go ahead and resheath it and then go back to Inyo every single time. Right? Later on, we'll work on being able to come the opposite direction as well as being able to come down. But you want to learn how to resheath the chain. So I generally, no matter what I'm done, I generally go 1, 2, 3, bring it back to Kamae, resheath it, end in Inyo no Kamae. That's kind of like the way that we do our walking around and the way we step forward and we step backwards. There's a certain style to the way we do our taijutsu. There's a certain style to the way we use our Manriki Kusari. So again, something happens, it's out there. 1, 2, 3, and catch. Now you're gonna have to learn to keep on this catch. If you bring this hand too close to your body, it's gonna wrap over top of your wrist. If you bring this hand too far away from your body, it's gonna miss you, right? So once you get in Kamae, you've gotta learn however far this hand is from your body, whatever that distance is, measure it. And lock this elbow, keep it bent in that exact position every time. So it's not here, it's not here, it's here. So when I spin this chain, I'm gonna bring the hand to that position right here, because this is the distance that I need for that to fall back into this hand. So you just do the Kamae so often, you memorize where this position is. This is gonna take a little bit of time, but it's just 1, 2, 3, catch. Once you catch, resheath, come back to Inyo no Kamae. That's kind of the formalities of dealing with the chain. All right. So let's go to Hiken. So we start from Inyo no Kamae. So I'm in Inyo no Kamae. Person's going to attack with a sword or a punch or something. I'm going to again, what are we doing? Moving offline. Why? Because we like living. We're going to move offline. I'm going to take both my hands, but my left hand a little bit in front of my right hand, and I'm going to throw the chain to hit him dead into the Kyusho between the eyes, with the Jinshu up above the chin. Again, I'm not just randomly throwing the chain, hoping that I hit his face somewhere. I'm going to be hitting a specific target, either into the eye, the Jinshu, which is between the nose and the lip, the spot down here, can't remember the name of it there, the actual chin itself, or into the esophagus, or dead between the eyes. So again, Inyo no Kamae, here. Nabao. Onegaishimasu. Person gets into a Kamae, he cuts down with the sword, move offline and throw. There's your chain hanging, grab it, go back to Kamae, resheath, back to Inyo, step backwards. That particular technique is done. So again, this is called Hiken. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of that has to be done as part of the technique. If you don't do it like that, what it ends up looking like is, you may have the chain around your belt, you may be wearing it correctly, right? So you pull it out, and then if you don't know how to do the thing, you're kind of like, and then you're here, you can look all cool, he attacks, boom, you hit him, and then you just don't want to go, we're good, let's try it again. See, you're a dork, don't do that, right? So you start off here, bring the chain out, Inyo no Kamae, he attacks, see how much more professional that looks? So again, just practice here. Step. Now you're a Manriki guy. Technique number 2 is called Uzumaki. Uzumaki. Kabushi Dakune. Opponent attacks. You're going to learn to move offline. Let go with your right hand and throw this forward. What you're going to do is make an X. You got the chain in your left hand. You're going to learn how to make this X. And then you're going to bring it back to Kamae, switch feet, reshelf, back to Inyo here. Kamae, offline. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then once you've got this X down, the next thing you're gonna have to learn is the same thing. Keeping your left hand far enough away so when you come back, you got the chain. Once I've got it in chain, I'm gonna just switch Kamaes. So I'm always gonna go to my left side back, right side forward. Then here, bring the sheath back, come forward. So whenever I'm done this, I've got as many as I want to do, because realistically, I'm just moving this, boom, that's the technique. But you've got to learn, if you miss, how to, because you may have to come back with that side. So you want to learn how to throw and make an X. So you've got control of the weapon. Then learn how to bring it back to Kamae, switch your feet, resheath, then back up, bow, step away, technique's done. Okay? Kabushi Gakure, step offline. 1, hit. Once you got a good comfortable with it, bring it back to Kamae. Switch your feet, resheath, back up, and down. Uzumaki. Number 3, it's called Tatsumaki. Tatsumaki. Start, Kusari. Weapon is hanging down, hidden behind the leg. The attack is coming straight down. What do? Waiting, wait for it. Yep. Move offline. Attack's coming down. Move offline. It's okay to check, but don't get this in your way. With your right hand, you're going to do a small little whip up into the face. You're going to have to learn to practice that. So get yourself a target. It could be a paper plate that you put on a tree, a circle on a tree, and practice standing a little bit 45 degrees sideways to it, getting offline of it, and then looking at your target, and then practice hitting it. Practice hitting it every time. Boom. So it has like a little snap to it. A little snap. So now she hits. Right? So it's not just swinging, it's a snap, like a thrust. All right? The trick to that is when it hits, you got to pull in the same line. Because if you have a little bit of an angle and you pop this thing out, and you pop it out incorrectly, the weight is going to hit, and if you pull your hand towards your body, you're going to pull the weight right back towards your face, right? So in case, if you don't like your teeth, go ahead and try that. But if you like your teeth, don't do that. So what you need to do is when you move offline and you flick it out, you need to pull the wrist in a way where it's actually going to pull the chain back outside of your body. So you see how far I kept my hand away from my body. Once I make this move and I go to strike, this hand stays in tight. I'm gonna flick it in tight, but then watch how I bring my hand away from my body. Away from my body, right? And then from there, then I'm gonna actually come here, and it's gonna be one big throw over top the head, boom, hit to the face, back to Kamae, resheath, here, bow, step away. So the whole technique is 1, 2, Kamae, resheath, up, and down. When you do this overhead, you gotta learn how to use your arm or use your body so this end weight doesn't come back around, maybe hit you in your coccyx or hit you in your spine or hit you in your hip bone. So a lot of times you'll see me with my other arm, you'll see me keep this away from my body. You can see how I use even this side, where I keep it away from my body. So that's a drill that should be probably in the system, where you can learn to move the chain and use your arm so you don't actually have the weight hit your body, right? So it's a good drill to use this arm. So it's stopping it. And the same thing here, stopping it. So it's coming around, stopping it. So it's not hitting my body, right? And I can still generate power without this weight pounding the hell out of me, all right? Fuji Kusari, tap comes in, offline, strike, and quickly cover yourself so the chain doesn't hit you. Here, bang, straight across the face, and then go back to Kamae. He's down bleeding. Resheath, bow, escape, right? So that's this technique. One last time. Technique number 4 is called Ichimonji. Start in Wakikoshi no Kamae. From here, you're going to learn to strike to the head, to the head, to the ribs, and then to the knees, to the knees. You're just going to watch and learn how to have this hit. You're going to hit your body, but it's not like crashing in my body. I'm slowing it down some. But you want to be in a situation where someone attacks, and you learn how to hit them. Learn how to hit to the body. Learn how to hit to the knees. And every time I do it, the weight's coming back and hitting me here. It's hitting my body. So it's not hitting me, it's hitting in almost in my butt or my back. It's hitting in a meaty area. So I'm throwing this, but once I hit, I'm slowing my arm down. So you see it's not hitting me hard. So it's a real hard hit, and I slow my arm down to slow the weight down. Right? But it's basically learning how to hit both sides, keeping the chain in your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to Kamae. Each, son, she, go, rogue. Ichimonji. Technique number 5. Last technique in this section in the cues. Ichimonji, gaishi. I'm going to start in Fuji Kusari no Kamae. Basically letting the weight drop, hiding it behind my leg. Gaishi means to reverse. So we're going to reverse sides. We're also going to reverse hands. So the training is to learn how to be able to strike moving with the right hand, switching hands, striking left, right, left. And being able to do that like Jodan level, Chudan level, Chudan level, Gedan level, Gedan level. And being able to strike any level that I need to with one hand. Basically the drill's done with 7 cuts. You can do right side, left side, 1, 2, Chudan, 3, 4, gate on, 5, 6, and then I go back one cut across the do to the kasumi, to the temple, finishing on the right side so I can resheath. It looks something like this here. H, nip, so, shi, go, ro, sich. H, nip, so, shi, go, ro, sich. And that is the basic kihon for the Manriki in Nanikyu.
But I know that I like because I'll be at your back and call.